All right, Prairie Lakes, we're really glad you're here. Good job making this decision to start your week this way. Proud of you for that. Good job. Now, we got to get cracking here, okay? Here's the deal. This is our third week in this series about the Sabbath. And I know some of you, this is your first time and you're going, I don't know about that, I don't know what it is. Pretty important that you go back to week 1 and week 2 and really dig in. We've got a great website page, so that'll answer a lot of questions. But here's what we're going to do this weekend. I interviewed, because we want to get real practical, okay? So I interviewed Shane Fuller and Michelle Eblin, who've been working through this and practicing this for about a year and a half, this thing called Sabbath. And what we want to do this weekend is, man, we want you to start the journey, okay? We really want you to start the journey. And so this interview that I do with these guys is fascinating because it gives us some real practical stuff, and then there's some stuff in a couple times in the interview I just went, whoa. That is really good. Okay, so that's where we're going to go in a minute. But before we get there, here's what I want. Everybody in your Bible, turn to Mark 2 and 3, okay? So Mark 2 and 3. So use your phone, use your paper Bible, whatever you got, but I want you to get here. Now, this Mark 2 passage is just crucial for the Sabbath thing. I hit it the first week, Pastor Jesse hit it the second week, and I'm gonna go back to it again, but I want to show you something. So I want to go just a little past this one spot. Now, but here's the important part, right? Here's what we know. There's constant conflict on this thing called the Sabbath, okay? So in Mark 2, there's conflict on the Sabbath, and they're waiting to accuse Jesus and all that. And then he says in Mark 2, in 27, he says that we've been reading this one. He says, Jesus said to them, the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. So the Son of Man, Jesus, is Lord even of the Sabbath, right? So go back to the first part of that. The Sabbath was made for man. And what we want to emphasize is this. I know this is foreign. I know this can be weird. I know it seems impossible. But Jesus is literally saying, this thing was made for you. And we pounded away at that these first 2 weeks. So that's the hinge point of this thing called Sabbath is recognize that Jesus said, this was made for you. But I want you to see something a little bit more in this passage, okay? So that's the end of chapter 2. At the beginning of chapter 3, notice where it picks up. Another time, okay? Another time he went into the synagogue, so it was the Sabbath, right? And a man with a shriveled hand was there. Some of them were looking for a reason to accuse Jesus, so they watched him closely to see if he would heal him on the Sabbath. And Jesus said to the man with the shriveled hand, I talked about this last week, he said, stand up in front of everyone. And then Jesus asked this, look at verse 4. Jesus asked this, which is lawful on the Sabbath, to do good or to do evil, to save life or to kill? But they remain silent. And obviously this is, for Jesus, the Sabbath was made for man. So this is obviously a rhetorical question. Of course it's lawful. Of course you should do good. And of course you should save life. Right? It's rhetorical. And I want you to see, though, this about Jesus. Only a couple times does it use the word angry in Jesus, okay? I mean, he gets indignant sometimes, he gets frustrated with his disciples, right? There's some of that. But we have 2 times where he is angry, and both times the issue is nearly the same. But look what it says. He looked around at them in anger and deeply distressed at their stubborn hearts, right? This is Jesus, anger and deeply distressed. Remember, he got angry at the temple. And the concept behind both of these moments of anger with Jesus was this. People were taking a good gift from God, temple worship and Sabbath, and they were making it a locked door rather than an open door to fellowship with Him. One thing that makes Jesus angry is when you don't walk through the open door, or when you lock the open door to go deeper with Him. My friends, that's what the Sabbath is. This missing the Sabbath and misunderstanding the Sabbath and not receiving the gift of the Sabbath, it's one of the things that makes Jesus mad. All right, so this interview, I think it'll be really insightful. Well, let's guys, let's start with this, okay? The Sabbath is pretty weird for people. It's something that it's a little bit foreign to us. So what would you say, Shane, for instance, what would you say to people who are maybe for the first time really considering this thing called Sabbath? How would you help motivate them to take another step in it?
Yeah, well, because, Sabbath, I think easily slips into the category of, like, why would that be good for me or fun or enjoyable in any way. And I mean, I know we've been talking about it for a few weeks, but still, like, so my history with Sabbath is it fell in the exact same category as fasting, which to me is like the worst thing
terrible
ever, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's a restriction. It is not fun. It removes the joy from life. And it seems sort of like super spiritual or I don't know, something like that to me. So that's how Sabbath used to sound to me. And it was in that exact category. So if I thought of fasting, I thought of Sabbath and vice versa. To your point though, how do we help people not see it that way?
Right.
For me, the thing that really changed it was having to get pulled out of that category of restriction and having it be put into the category of rather than lack of enjoyment, it is all of a sudden Sabbath is your time to maximize your enjoyment both of life and of God in whatever amount of time you're able to do it, whether it's a 24-hour day or a 3-hour evening or whatever.
Yeah.
It is maximizing the way in which you enjoy life and God all at the same time.
So for you, it was really a reframing. If it was taking that out of this kind of negative category and going in a positive category. And I think, Michelle, you discovered that too, that like a truth behind this thing.
Well, so what got me interested in trying to Sabbath was Shane, on a Zoom call with all our staff, you shared your story of Sabbathing. And I was like, that feels worth it. I'm like a person that literally the first time Lance Witt taught our staff about Sabbath and asked, what do you delight in or what do you enjoy? I'm like, well, anything is enjoyable if you just decide to make it enjoyable, aka work. Like I like work. And so I'm like, I will Sabbath by just enjoying my work. And so I think hearing Lance's categories of prepare, stop, rest, delight, worship, made me be like, okay, so I'm gonna have to look at Sabbath a little differently now. And then you kind of shared what doing each of those things looked like, and it was enlightening to me.
Lance's first kind of step in this thing or guidepost is prepare. Talk to us about prepare.
So I didn't know I was doing something called prepare, or that at the time the Jewish community followed a practice called preparation day, right? I didn't know. What I knew was I love organizing, I love order, I like details, I like things to be clean around me, and I have a hard time slowing down and relaxing if I have a to-do list. That's what I knew. So basically after a while, Bryn, my wife, and I figured out that, okay, if in order for me to actually stop and just enjoy life as much as I can for a day, I had to get a bunch of stuff done first.
Okay.
So for us, how that looked was like, okay, I have to mow the lawn before I get to Sabbath day. Otherwise, the whole time I'm going to be thinking, I have to mow the lawn after this is over. I have to mow the lawn after this is over. And it's all like just waiting for me at the end. And so that's how it worked for us is we basically figured out, all right, there's a bunch of stuff we both want to get done, whether it's around the house or, errands around town or things for the kids, whatever. And we figured out, okay, here's a list. And we're going to spend, from the morning until about 4 p.m. the day before getting stuff done. And it really helped.
Good.
But it wasn't that simple because we've talked about this before, like stopping can be hard for lots of us. So the thing that was hard for us was, or maybe more so for me even, was it was great to get a lot of stuff done on the list. But as people who like lists know, very rarely do you actually get the entire list done. So it still required me to discipline myself to stop, even with a few things still on the list. And that was a challenge, but it was like something I felt like I had to embrace because otherwise, the list is never ending. It always will be.
So Shane, yours is a list. Like if I have a big to-do list, I know it's never going to get done, but if I can get down a lot of it, boy, that helps me on this. What does practical look like for, you've got a family of 4 kids, from a 4-month-old to a 6-year-old. That's not restful.
4 kids. 4 kids.
So many kids.
Yeah, so for us, we're fairly disciplined people. So we do a decent amount of just stuff around the house during the week. So it's not all piled up. So you could even say before we get to the day where we prep, there's already some stuff we're doing to make it so that it's not just this massive mountain of stuff to do.
Your whole week can kind of become prep for this day.
Yeah.
It really can.
And it doesn't, I don't think of it that way, but as we're talking through it, you can see how that is somewhat true.
Yeah.
And then when we get there, so we literally, like our kids know, on Friday, we call it work day. We mow the lawn, we get whatever projects need to be done, whatever bathroom hasn't got cleaned yet, we clean it, whatever, chore got left undone, we take care of it. If there's any errands we have to run, like any of that stuff, we're doing. And then by 4 o'clock, okay, whatever's left on the list is left. One of the things we do, which we can get to this when we talk about delight and enjoying and all that stuff, but we usually try and plan like our most enjoyable meal for Friday night dinner, right? But that means that we got it already at the grocery store earlier in the week.
Yeah.
We know what we're making.
Yeah.
It's not like this big challenge. And so for us, it goes into all that stuff. Like, do you know what you're going to make? Do you have the groceries for it? What's on your list? Did you save it all for one day? Because, man, good luck stopping if you did. So all that kind of stuff goes into it.
And Michelle, we talked about this after, watching Lance's interview. You had this kind of picture when, hey, this is a real life. This is a life turn. This is not just a kind of a one day. This is kind of a whole life realignment, right? If I'm kind of prepping for this day, if I'm looking forward to this gift, to receive this gift.
Yeah, one of the most helpful things Lance said was, this has been incremental for me. And it just felt freeing, because really what we're talking about with Sabbath, from my perspective, feels like a lifestyle change. Like, as I tried to stop for a day, I realized like, wow, I haven't been honoring my limits. I've said yes to too many things. And it means in order to be a responsible human being and honor my limits, I can't say yes to the amount of things I have been. And that takes time to adjust. And so I think for me, having the freedom to say, Michelle, you are on a journey of readjusting the way you live life. And it's going to take time. Yeah. And one of the things I read in a Devo recently from the Sabbath page, it's called Understanding Sabbath. It was talking about the Pharisees, and it said the Pharisees cared more about keeping the Sabbath and doing it well than healing. And I think for me, as I've gotten to every Sabbath day, I've seen the ways I am stuck or my loves are disordered. I love work, career, my image more than sometimes I love God and his way for me. And it's been every moment I see it, instead of feeling shame, God's been like, no, Michelle, I'm just showing you this so I can direct you to a better way of living. And let's just talk about how to get there. And so that's kind of what has informed my preparing.
Yeah, good. So I think all of us need to hear that this is a process.
Yeah.
It's incremental. And when God reveals something or shows something, like, I can't stop. It's not shame. It's like, thank you.
It's
because
free.
I want to be who I'm created to be. And the Sabbath is designed for us, not against us. It's for us. Let's move the stop just real quick, because there's a lot of stuff on the website about prepare. Okay, but stop. Now you had talk about stop, Michelle.
Well, okay, so I'm kind of I'm a list person too. I like to prepare. I always think I can get more done in a day than I can, and so I have to force myself into stop. And I do it by having something scheduled with friends, where I literally have to leave my home to go somewhere where I'm not cleaning and stop. And then once I'm with people, I get to enjoy it.
You can breathe.
Yeah, it's my turning point as I start Sabbath. So that's one way I stop. And then the other thing I like to do is just delete Instagram for my Sabbath. Those are two little stops I do.
Good.
So getting to that idea of okay, I just need to be with friends to help me stop. I didn't know that when I was first trying to Sabbath. And so one Saturday, it was me and Levi, and I was really okay, we're going to Sabbath today. And I get to it and I'm like, okay, I have to stop and I need to enjoy things, but I literally don't know what's enjoyable right now if it's not getting things done. Yeah. And I was just overwhelmed I don't know why, because I was living in a way that was different and I didn't know how to do it. And I literally had a panic attack. I was I feel I'm losing. It was almost I was caught in between lies the enemy was telling me about what I'm worth, and then like twisting what Sabbath meant. It's just, I felt like I was failing God because I couldn't Sabbath well. I felt like I was losing my identity because I wasn't working how I wanted to. And I got overwhelmed. And yeah, it just was another turning point where God was like, Michelle, I have a better way for you.
Yeah.
We're going to get there. But you got to talk to people about this. So
Yeah.
that was hard.
Most people are pretty hard on themselves. And something I find myself telling people somewhat often is like, when you're trying something new that you're not used to or that you're working on, go easy on yourself as it relates to what you identify as the problem, right? So in that scenario, like you totally made it about you, right? This is a problem with me. I'm wrong. I'm bad. I can't do this. And instead, like, what if it was just the tactic? That's the problem. So as you start trying to make it work, don't make it, about, oh, I'm just bad at Sabbathing. I just can't figure it out.
Right.
This is just me. It's a me problem. Well, maybe it's the wrong day or the wrong night or the wrong time or the wrong person, or you just didn't prepare enough or whatever. So go hard on the tactic and go easy on yourself as you start trying it.
It's a great line. Go hard on the tactic. Go easy on yourself.
Yeah.
Receive the gift.
Yeah.
Don't
Amen
punish
to
yourself.
that. That is good.
Yeah.
You write that down.
There you go.
Yeah, because I think like something I hear a lot or heard a lot at least was, we have little kids. That feels like work to me. Or I also have to change diapers. Or what about all the meals I have to make or the dishes or whatever, And again, like you mentioned earlier, sort of like misconceptualizing what Sabbath is. It isn't a complete abdication of all duty or responsibility,
Right.
especially as it relates to parents. Like you're responsible still for your children and their well-being and everything else that goes along with it. So whether they're like my kids, 4 kids, 6 and under, or teenagers, there's things that they require of you because that's your job. You're a parent. So for us, like a few things we had to figure out when it's Sabbath night. So for us, it's Friday night. We don't usually
wait a minute. So it doesn't have to be Sunday. It can.
Right. Yeah.
That is actually good to say. People.
Yeah, that is helpful to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, for us, Friday night is when we start. So we realized when we do bath night with 4 kids, it can be stressful and you can get impatient and it can be frustrating and it just feels like a lot of work.
Yeah.
So unless the kids are really messy, we don't do baths Friday nights. When we make that meal I was telling you about, like the meal that we enjoy most in the week, we save for Friday night. We, in every way we possibly can, cut corners on how many dishes we use. So we use paper plates. We use the same pan to cook multiple things in, right? We're usually grilling, so that's not something you have to like spend time scrubbing. We put everything in the dishwasher if we possibly can. So just anything like that where we can go,
It's good.
as we practice Sabbathing, this seems to feel stressful to me or like extra work. Is there any tactic I could figure out so that it doesn't feel like that when we're preparing or doing this?
And again, hard on the tactic, easy on the self.
Exactly.
Like the bath night. I mean, that's just so practical.
Well, and honestly, literally, there's so many people, probably even who will listen to this, who they've just told themselves, well, I have little kids, so I can't.
Yeah, I just can't do it. There's no way it works.
Because they require work from me.
Yeah.
Well, yes, they do.
and you still have to parent.
Yeah. But God's people, always and forever, have had kids. So it wasn't like God was like, Sabbath unless you have kids.
Yeah.
So,
or unless you're busy.
Yeah.
Or unless you're really important.
Right, exactly. Or think about
That's for everybody else.
Some people, this will feel more real to now, but in the past, for how many thousands of years, God's people had livestock that were their livelihood. And they had to do something about if something needed to be done on Sabbath day, they had to do it, right? So it's not like Sabbath day is supposed to be sitting on the couch, watching Netflix, reading a book, absolutely checking out and doing nothing, not to mention the fact that that probably isn't the things you enjoy most in life. Maybe for some of us it is. But as it relates to stopping and not working and stuff, it isn't like the only way to Sabbath is to absolutely have nothing that's required of you.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think part of like what you started doing when you were pursuing Sabbath is you were asking the question, what is life-giving and what what is life draining.
Yes.
And then as you learned, you adjusted.
Yeah.
And that's something I felt like I was asking that question, still am. I was asking when is best.
Yeah.
I was asking what is coming up in me as I try to stop, as I try to delight, as I try to rest. And I just think God has taught me so much about how life is meant to be lived as I've like asked those questions and learned. So I like have watched you share your lessons, and underneath that is those questions that you're asking.
Yeah,
I just wanted to highlight for people.
Good job.
Totally.
Good highlighting. What have you learned about delight? Because that's a hard one for Iowans in particular. It's a hard one for us.
Yeah.
So what have you learned about delight? How do you delight and take delight in God and in others?
Yeah. So there's this book of the Bible called Ecclesiastes. And we've talked about this a lot, but basically the gist of the whole book is, King Solomon had every means that he ever wanted to try and figure out what the most enjoyable parts of life were. What would give him the most meaning in life? And he tried everything. Yeah. All the stuff
everything
we still tried. Everything we still tried, right? Make the most money, accomplish the most things, conquer the most lands, get the most girls, have the most food, have everything. And all along the way, he's realizing it's just not doing it for me. Yeah. So the book boils down to what?
Well, so this is, can I share this metaphor?
Yeah.
So, my professor was telling us basically the heart of Ecclesiastes is saying God gives you, imagine there's a machine and every day it spits out an apple. And the wise person knows not to think about the apple coming tomorrow or yesterday's apple, but they realize this is apple I've been given today. I'm going to take a big bite and enjoy. And so like sometimes I will wake up on Saturday, which is my Sabbath, and I'll be like, okay, what am I going to do today to make Sabbath great? And even this past Saturday, I just was reminded, no, Michelle, this is your apple. Enjoy it. Just see what comes. And for delighting and resting, one of the things I tell myself is go at a pace that feels natural for your body. Because I just gotta move quickly in the days, and I'm like, go at a slower pace. And then I know we talk about the word what feels intuitive or what feels like what you need, but I felt like I needed a nap and a moment to just sit and read and then make a snack that was good. So those are just the what are the little things that God says enjoy them. Yeah. But I don't know if you would add anything to that.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, because basically the message at the end of Ecclesiastes is there are things in life that are good. And when you can recognize them as good, and then while you enjoy them, give thanks to God, that is the ultimate good life.
There you go.
It's the ultimate good life. He says, good food, good drink, good friends.
Yeah.
And if you can enjoy those and then thank God at the same time. So to me, that's how delight has boiled itself down to me. It is, what do I love doing? I love grilling and eating. So I do it, and then while I'm doing it, at least a couple times, I just have this 1.5 second God, thanks, this is awesome.
Yeah.
You didn't have to make steak taste this good, but you did.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I love spending time with friends. I love a good whiskey. And so Friday nights, we usually are with friends, and we usually make a drink. And while I enjoy it, once in a while, I catch myself and I go, hey, God, thanks, this is great. Right? Saturday mornings, we love getting out, going for walks, riding bikes, whatever with the kids. Hey, God, thanks, this is great. Yeah. So there's probably some mom out there who, while you were talking, she was like, oh, if I had time to read a book, yeah, right. If I had time to take a nap, yeah, right. And it's okay, maybe you don't, because you have little kids like I do. What can you enjoy, though? What do you enjoy? Right? Don't, like you said, be wishing you had some other apple for that day, right? Well, right now in this season, these are the apples, right? Yeah. And so how can you find ways during these days to enjoy and delight? And literally, I want people to know it can be anything. Like the Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, John Mark Comer guy.
One of our resources.
Yeah, he says Friday nights they do the put cookie dough on a sheet half bake it and then dump a gallon of ice cream on top of it, and they all sit around and eat it together.
Wow.
Right? So, and that's them Sabbathing because it's super enjoyable and they thank God while they do it.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe it's shooting your bow and practicing it. Maybe it is working on the car with one of your kids. Right?
Yeah.
Whatever it is. Maybe it is running a triathlon on Saturday mornings. It doesn't matter because what you enjoy, what I enjoy are all probably going to be different. But can you enjoy it and then thank God for it while you do it? That is delighting.
Yeah, it's receiving it and being grateful.
Yeah.
Just recognizing where it's coming from.
Yeah.
One of our resources on our page is one of the sheets is the replenishment bucket.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, man, that's a great resource for people. Just take some time with it. But it's a picture of a bucket with some square spaces above it. And literally it's just, what are the things that fill, that replenish you?
Yeah.
And everybody's different.
Right.
Some people love mowing the lawn. They just love the lines, and it's great. Other people just dread it.
Sure.
So it's that. Michelle, I think you're typical of a lot of Iowans. Go. I think you're typical of that. But you've learned. And what would you say to the Iowans who are like you, just kind of wired to, if you stop, you have a panic attack. I can't stop. Yeah. What's happened in you since you began this, not finished race, but as you began this journey? What's happened in you?
I think I have had to wrestle with the question, is it worth it? Is it attainable? And then what God keeps speaking over me is, Michelle, trust me. Like, this is a better way of life for you. Okay. Trust me. And I'm going to be with you during it, and I'm going to free you from the things that aren't great for you when you say yes. And so I think to all the people that do feel like it's not attainable, it doesn't feel worth it, God has never instructed us to do something that wasn't good for us. Yeah. And he's not going to start. So I just keep hearing him say, trust me, I have a better way, and keep trying. Yeah.
So what do you do when you're on that day and legitimately there's an interruption to that day that you can't avoid? How do we handle that?
Yeah. You want to go?
I think for me, I've had to wrestle through, like, what if there is something and I'm working? Does that mean something about my preparation or what? And I think it was simple. It was like, no, just handle it. Like, that's period.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
What would you say to his question?
Yeah. I mean, the thing I sympathize with most for the Pharisees is, like, they probably asked that question too.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's just been really pounding it into my own head that, like, when this day gets interrupted with something, I'm not being a bad Christian. I'm not failing God. I'm not letting him down or letting myself down. You know? So whether it's helping someone move into their house on Saturday morning, and so you're 5 hours of moving trucks. That's okay. That's okay. And sometimes we try and make it up somehow doing something, and other times it's just like, all right, see you next week, Sabbath. So I do not want to turn it into this thing that becomes a way that I feel shame or guilt. I refuse to. Basically,
just refuse. We receive that apple. We enjoy this apple.
And
you know what? Sometimes what comes our way is we view as an interruption. We just handle it, or we just do it. We help the move. God will bless that.
Sure.
God knows it's your day.
Sure.
God knows it's your day.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good.
Man, I tell you, that was there's some points in there that I just went, wow. And I think Shane's point of be really hard on the tactic, but be really easy on yourself. This is not a shame and guilt thing, my friends. Listen, this is an invitation from God. Sabbath is an invitation to receive this gift. As Michelle said, the apple that he hands to you, the apple for that day. Hey, this past week I did a funeral, and Charlotte Ford was her name, 93 years old, just a saint of a woman. But Psalm 139 was what she wanted for her message, and so I was pleased because I love Psalm 139. And there's one verse in here that for me, it's one of my favorite verses of the Bible. It's certainly one of my favorite Psalm verses. But it's this simple statement. In 139, David's talking about how God knows him and how God loves him. And he gets to this verse 5, and look at this verse 5. He says to God, you hem me in, behind and before, you lay your hand upon me. Picture, just real quick. The God of the universe, he hems you in behind and before. He lays his hand upon you. My friends, this spot in here is Sabbath. This is what God's inviting you to. He says, come into this spot. I'll hem you in behind and before, and I'll lay my hand upon you, and you stop, you pause. You breathe in deeply on this day. You enjoy, you delight, you worship. Really, the Sabbath is this spot. God says, I've got the front and I've got the back. I've got yesterday and I've got tomorrow. And I've got today on top. So just live in this spot. Receive this gift. My prayer is this, that you'll receive this Sabbath gift. Because this, I think for every single one of us across Iowa, this is a game changer in your world, with your family, and most importantly, in your walk with God. Let me pray right now. God, thank you. You're good, good, good to us. Thanks for this gift. Now give us the courage, but also, God, give us the sense of urgency to begin this journey, to incrementally begin to have this day, this Sabbath day, be yours. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you.